on my way to High Rock on the Goldwing. But this is the most pure form of riding. Just a standard motorcycle. I love it. I love the going back to basics, and I love the smoothness. You know, I keep talking about that, but as soon as you get on any freaking Goldwing, you know, back in the day, like in 1970s, when this thing popped up, all they had was these vibrating dildos on wheels. Harley, Triumph, what's the other one? Indian. And then this thing came around and said, oh my god, it's so smooth. That must have been almost like sorcery for back in 1970. And as you guys know, the Goldwing was made for an American audience. It wasn't made for kind of like a worldwide audience. These old bikes from the 80s, they're not too fast, but they are fun. And the idea that this is a 40-year-old bike, to me that's kind of incredible. That Honda this was not meant to be a street carver. It still got the geometry of a cruiser. But, you know, I don't know why people go with the cafe racer style. This is way better. A touring bike that's set up for riding twisties. Oh, so much nicer. This one doesn't have that crazy power that will break traction. KTM, nice. I have never had a KTM, but they're very distinct looking. They kind of look like Hornets, like an old school KTM 950. Maybe my next bike, or an Aprilia Tuono. There's very few GL1000s and 1100s on the market with clean titles that actually work. And if you put a little sweat equity into these bikes, I mean, they are great bikes for keeping. I mean, I've gotten so many people asking me questions about this. It's quite a dick magnet. Yeah, going into corners, you feel that massive weight. It's got so much torque. It's heavy, but it's got so much torque, and it just pulls you out of the corner slowly, but you feel that torque, that massive torque that it has. I don't know how they do it, but like, you know, it doesn't have like a kick in the pants type of squirt to power like this. It's just really linear, but it's so smooth. Quite a bit of power. Just gotta twist that throttle. It's so smooth and relaxing to ride that you kind of forget that it's still an 1100cc bike. Yeah, going into corners, this definitely feels massive. But just riding in general, it's easy. And even with the aftermarket shocks that are not as good as the air ride ones. It's pretty smooth. This bike is pretty darn smooth. You know, the real downside of this particular setup is the brakes. The brakes just can't handle this bike's weight and power. This is Point to Rocks Road. You gotta love a bike that feels faster than it really is. Yeah, there's so much pollen in the air. This bike is just so smooth going into corners. Just give it power throughout. I always have to remind myself that, because a lot of times I'll chop off the throttle a little bit. I try to always remain on the gas, but on this you really have to remember, go with the corner slower because it is a heavy bike, and then just kind of roll through gently, and it makes riding a breeze. One of the things I learned, you know, when I first started riding, I don't know, I guess you can fall in with guys who don't seem to have their brain stems working. And the idea of riding when I first started is go into the corner hot, brake hard, and then squeeze on out. And then after I saw lots of accidents happen because people were I guess racetrack or track braking into corners in the countryside, I thought, you know what, let's go into the corner slower because we're not racing. And that way, if you ride at 60-70% of your capabilities, you will always have a little bit of the remaining to get out in case something happens. Debris on the road, a car coming the opposite way. But when I was first riding, that was the opposite. It was like fast in the corners, fast out, and it was fun. But at the same time, I really don't care too much about that, because like going into the corner slow with this squeezing out, for me is just as fun, if not more fun. Brass clippings is one of those made up fears that motorcycle riders have when you want to blame everything else but not you. Hey buddy, how are you? It's a cruiser with his old lady. Look how cool this old town looks. I believe this is Jefferson. I don't know, but it looks cool. These old Civil War styled homes by the side of the road. Looking. Twisty road. Yeah, this bike runs wide. It's not me, really. If it had like a typical 4-cylinder that was like the FJR, it would be much harder to handle. Yeah, see, a lot of weight. The brakes are just not good enough for this. That's why you should go slow. We're almost at the Pennsylvania border. Some beautiful homes out here. Wolfsville. this little beautiful town. Just beautiful. What's the school? It's called Wolfsville Elementary School. Now we're coming up to High Rock. Oh, I don't see any motorcycles. Look at this. Look at this. Welcome to Pennsylvania. This is where the Appalachian Trail runs through. Well, guys, that's the 1981 Goldwing. It's slow going into corners, but it's extremely fun to ride, and it's just that motor. The chassis is definitely not very good for cornering, but this type of bike, you can get it all day long for about $1,000 on the marketplace, Craigslist, so it's definitely worth getting. And of course, it does have a shaft drive. That flat 4 engine is silky smooth, and this is probably like one of the last naked Goldwings you could possibly get. Let's get started. So I hooked up the tack just to see if it would stop making noise. Turn off that. Look at that, the tack is working. I don't know what was happening before.